All right. Thank you. Thank you so much, guests and the attendees who've given 1 hour of your time to attend. This is episode one of a series of episodes that we'll be doing on programmatic. This one is called The Art of Programmatic, and we have insights from Samsung Ads and Housing.com. We also have Ruby, who's the CEO at Tatvic, and I will just take some liberty and introduce the esteemed panelists here. So we have Vikram Chande, who is General Manager Sales at Samsung Ads. He's been in the digital industry for 17 years, and I have known him for many years now personally. So he specializes in programmatic advertising, performance marketing, and he's also like a buff on scalable digital transformation. He's seen many brands, adopt digital and how they have transformed into digital first brands, right? So he's worked at Group M, Adobe, and he leads the charge at Samsung Ads now. We have Prakhar Gupta, who's the senior brand manager at Housing.com. He has about 10 years experience building some known brands like LiveSpace and Practo. He's now the key driver in making Housing.com the leader in its industry. He's also an angel investor, so people who have ideas, who just have startups, please reach out to him, and he'll help you raise money, or he'll put his own money on your sales. We have Rubir Singh, who's the global CEO at Tatvic. Rubir has about 19 years of experience. He's also been a veteran in the digital marketing and analytics space. We have a statement which is Rubir's mission is empower businesses with leading technology for digital growth. Ruby has also been part of Google and OIPO in the past. That's me. I'm Bharat Sethi. I'm head of media at Tatvic. I have about 15 years of experience in digital. I started off working with a couple of startups and then moved to Yahoo and Google, and now I'm continuing my journey within the ecosystem itself at Tatvic. I would now like to move the baton to Rubir, who will talk about the trends shaping programmatic, how programmatic is growing, where is it going. Over to you, Rubir.
Thank you, Bharat. I think my job here is to highlight the opportunity at hand. We are a country which is moving towards 1 billion users to be there in 2030 on the internet and smartphones. The opportunity for digital is getting more and more exciting, where the advertising space is just expanding with more and more smarter inventory types. And we do have very predictable numbers at hand. The current base of adoption is 780 million, reaching another 200 million to be added in next 7-8 years. But internet's way of consumption is changing. This generation is very friendly to the smarter ads that are being exposed, and obviously the legacy habit with television, where television used to show ads in linear fashion, now that is getting smart and the users are reacting to it in a very interesting way. And now the emergence of AI also bringing new angles, that the personalization of ads, or there will be a relationship between ads as well as the device user at a very strong level. But happy to zoom in on what's happening in programmatic. Let's move ahead. Next slide. So programmatic, I believe, is still growing in India. Overall pie is significantly large. We should be seeing continuous growth around 40% to 45%, at least till 2025. After that, I know the penetration would be reaching significantly to the top end, at least by internet penetration. But programmatic adoption out of the overall AdX is still growing. Around 40% is where it is, and it's supposed to continuously align to growth with that. So money is increasing around advertisers believing programmatic way of advertisement even strongly. That's fueling, that's not decelerating. And the DSP's momentum is still growing. DSPs are adding more and more smarter inventory types. The inventory types are getting more smarter, and they are getting more automation in place. So programmatic way of buying is here to stay for at least next 6-7 years. And in this space, the next interesting type of inventory is definitely CTV, and the stats are, it's interesting there as well. If you see that most of the advertisers we do have conversation with is they have a portion of money now parked for CTV, and they are planning to increase accessing that inventory through programmatically, dedicatedly. And yes, there is a way of accessing that inventory directly, but the the growth of programmatic adoption and the CTV's emergence is just emerging at the right time, and we will see a lot more conversation around accessing CTV directly from the current DSPs. I know Samsung is 100% programmatic, but many other CTV inventories who do have direct sales option available, they are also moving completely to the wave of programmatic adoption. I think the numbers are pretty clear. Significant portion of the planning budget is now moving to CTV. Obviously, absolutely from the branding angle right now with a huge recall. But over the time, the IC performance angle will kick in, more automation will kick in, and predictable results will be there. And obviously, digital out of home is the next thing to see how that connects to indoor devices, and maybe eventually we might have outdoor smarter devices with a similar experience. But happy to understand from how a brand thinks about these stats and how the money is parked on these new inventory smart inventory styles, and that's where we have Prakhar from housing. Uh, I think we should be transferring the control to him to explain the further points we want to share.
Yeah, sorry. Ruby, just before I move on to Prakhar, I think, and thank you for sharing these stats. I think it establishes the fact at least that, programmatic is growing, and CTV and digital out of home, like these are some new surfaces which have popped up on digital, which is very, very promising. I have a small follow-up question to ask you, because so what the trend that we've seen in the past few years, I think DV360 has, sort of turned to become like a mammoth and with a lot of market share. But I'm seeing like independent companies like Programmatic and the Trade Desk coming up with their own DSP solutions. And I think recently saw a post from the Trade Desk showcasing a nice big billboard of Audi ad. And they're saying that this is the launch of digital out of home and Trade Desk. So are you seeing in future the spends would diversify to other DSPs because they will have their own set of inventory and they'll have their own USPs? Would love to hear your thoughts.
Absolutely. So DV has its penetration and adoption advantage. Obviously, there's also a branding and confidence advantage with TV. Like many of the titles just have a very high degree of trust on Google products, and the money is parked there with erstwhile belief in double-click offerings. But also now that wave is reaching to its end of benefits. We do have other DSPs bringing in smarter audience targeting option or smarter audience inventory consolidation options, which with just the benefits on the table, brands would not be able to ignore it longer. There will be unique offerings coming in other DSPs. I'm definitely seeing two combinations: better or consolidated inventory, just the way for CTV we have been hearing in it's there in Activate. And obviously, there could be scenarios where specific inventories will not be available on DV360. They will be available on other DSP with whatever decisions taken behind them. So yes, the money will diversify, and also the benefit of this trend, I think, will be taken up by inventory providers because it's good competition on the DSP space, which increases the value of the inventory, and obviously the advertisers will also try to use the benefit of if that inventory has some advantage in other DSP, the money should be moved there to get more performance. So definitely 100% diversification and back like control moving back to inventory providers is the trend I see.
Amazing. Thank you for the response. I think two key takeaways was that the inventory providers earn money, there's more competition, and competition is always good for the marketplace. Before again, Prakhar, I'm sorry, we'll take another minute. We have a poll question to sort of keep the audience engaged. Team, can you please put up the poll question on the link, please? I will give it another 30 seconds, and if the poll doesn't come up, we'll move to Prakhar.
And I do see the voting, and right now it is 50-50, around 30% to 70%. Oh, no, 31 to 70 is leading.
I think we at least have about 50-55% people who are investing in programmatic, and the others are moving towards investing into programmatic. And I hope we are able to influence some decision to move some of the monies on programmatic. I will now quickly ask Prakhar to take charge and talk about how programmatic and DV360 has helped elevate its strategy on digital. Over to you, Prakhar.
Thanks, Bharat. Thanks, Ruby, for taking us to a lot of data points, which are, I think, relevant for a lot of folks joining this webinar. So for us at housing, programmatic buy has been big for us, right? So just to give you context of housing market in India, Bharat, if you can just move to the next slide. Yeah. So as of 2023, right, housing was a 3.5 lakh crore market in India, right? India's residential property is at 3.5 lakh crores, and it is growing humongously. We all can feel, how the property prices are increasing, how the demand is increasing, how the migrations is happening into urban cities, how the population is increasing, right? So this is all fueling. On top of that, there's rising aspirations, there's rising disposable income that, which is happening. And this is all fueling growth in real estate, especially India's, residential property market. If you see 2030, the market is poised to be, $1 billion market in India, right? So a few trends that are shaping housing market is, of course, the first and foremost is that, inevitable shift towards tier 2 cities. We all know how the metro cities, which are right now, right, they are sort of reaching a saturation point. They are, um, 20-30 years back, there was a certain limited area in which every metro was confined to. That area expanded, and now with adoption of digital, right, and of course that is a big driver. People are sort of moving back to tier 2 cities. There's a lot of businesses, a lot of economy which is being shaping up in tier 2 cities, and therefore housing market is also growing at a faster rate in tier 2 cities, and it is poised to grow in next 10 years, right? Election periods in India are typically marked by increased public spending, right? This is, I think, true across most of the categories. And a lot of macro level, government level initiatives, policies, they directly impact housing market, right? And third is the digital format. That is, if you see housing market, it has been very traditionally, as a process, right from documentation to buying process, all the legal stuff that you have to do, right from registry, etc. And in past 10 years, if you've bought a piece of land or a property or a home, you can see how that process has shifted digitally. And therefore, right from your home tours to brokerage amount, to finding a broker, to conversing with the broker, to doing a background check on the developer, on the broker, on the party that if it's a resale, doing a background check on the party that you're buying from. Every step of the buying journey is becoming more and more digital, right? So these are the key drivers which are enabling more trust in the minds of consumers, right? And therefore, real estate is moving upwards. Next slide, Bharat. So there are a couple of challenges when it comes, how do we essentially reach out to the consumers, right? So what are those two key challenges? The first is, if you see, buying a house is not a impulse decision, right? The trigger might be impulsive, right? So for example, if you just had a kid, now you're thinking about a family, right? So from that perspective, the trigger might be impulsive, but it's a big financial decision, right? And therefore it takes a big a longer duration of time, right? It takes around 1 to 2 years to make that decision, to finally execute that decision, right? And so people are essentially moving or oscillating between active and passive state in their journey, right? So for example, today, for next 3 months, I would be very, very active, right? I would talk to a couple of real estate agents. I will talk to a couple of builders. I will do some site visits, and then for, let's say, next 2 months, I would be just taking a break, sort of talk to a couple of people, my friends, my families, right? But I would sort of become more passive, right? So they are oscillating between active and passive state, and therefore reaching to the right audience at the right time becomes a very, very big challenge from a marketing perspective. And the second is frequency control, right? Because so once you are reaching that core audience at the right time, reaching them at an accurate or at an optimum frequency, right, becomes a challenge, because ultimately, there's a certain cost which is associated with it, and to induce trials, to create a certain or a threshold level of impact, right? To create that impact, but there's a certain level of frequency which is required, and therefore, DV comes into the picture. Bharat, if we can move to the next slide, right? And therefore, as we all know, in digital there are different wall gardens, right? So it's very difficult to have that unified uh, reach, to have that control, right, on your marketing spends, so that there is less spillage. I'll not say zero spillage, because I think we as marketers understand that there's nothing called zero spillage, right? But the objective is to minimize spillage and maximize impact. Maximize impact is a function of reaching the right audience at the right time with the optimal frequency, right? And therefore, your media mix, if there is a unified buying platform such as DV360, right, you can control your reach and your frequency, and minimize your wastage on frequency, uh, on your impressions, and therefore get better better ROI, right? So for us, we sort of we look at two data points. One is 3 plus frequency and 5 plus frequency reach, right? And therefore that's how we essentially plan at an input level, right? But next slide. Yeah. So there are multiple mediums, there are multiple publishers that you can plan your campaign with, and therefore, there's each and every device, each and every medium offers its own pros when it comes to creating that impact and driving those results. CTV is more creating more impact, and therefore it's a little expensive. Mobile is again helping us to build that reach and frequency, and display is a frequency driver for us, right? So for any marketer, if we manage reach, frequency, and impact, that is the right balance, would give us the perfect or near to perfect ROI that we are all sort of trying to achieve, right? And of course, at the minimal cost. Next slide. So how has this worked for us? So if you see, at a 3 plus frequency level, right, we've seen that, our cost has come down by 2x. Sorry, is someone saying anything? Okay. Yeah. If you look at the 3+ reach that, before that, let's say 6 months or 7 months back, what we were able to achieve and what we are able to achieve now, right, is there's a increase of 100x, right, which is a huge achievement for us, right? It saves a lot of money and it makes our campaigns more targeted, right? And therefore, if you look at the brand impact or the business impact, right, there are 2x number of, there's an increase of 2x in organic app installs. Why? Because we are now able to control, the 3+ and the 5+ frequency, therefore creating more impact and therefore initiating or triggering more trials, which as a metric is organic app installs, right? If you look at our brand metrics, there's a consistent increase, right? And the overall increase has been close to 50%, right? So therefore, unified platform like DV360 has helped us at Housing to unify our input level campaigns and therefore, achieve remarkable results for the brand.
So Prakhar, a quick question on this one. How did you arrive to find this sweet spot of 3+ or 5+? Did you do variations for 3, 4, 5, 6, 7+, and then eventually this was the best performing for you as a brand, or do you also believe this 3+ is usually a good sweet spot?
Yeah, see, with experience comes biases, right? So we had a bias, to be very honest, that TV. If I look at how I planned my TV 2 years back, right, 5+ was sort of a very agreed number, right? So we initially went with 3+ as a frequency that hey, it's digital, and let's start. Optimizing for 3+, then we moved that what if we optimize for 5+, right? And then we moved to what if we optimize for 7+, right? I think Bharat would clearly remember. We've had a lot of conversations around this in our meetings, right? So we've experimented at 3+, 5+, 7+. In fact, we've experimented at 8+ as well, right? And then we figured out that hey, if I've run or optimized my campaigns at 3+ for a couple of months, and I've done this for 5+, 7+, 8 months, over a year, then I see what has been the impact, right? And the impact is measured by a lot of things, right? I mean, we do quarterly brand tracks, right? We track our organic app install movement, right? We see what has been the impact on brand lift metrics, and therefore we arrived that hey, the maximum impact or the maximum ROI is coming at 3+, right? So that sweet spot lies, and of course it is different at different value propositions and for different categories as well, right? But for us, that has been around 3+ to 4+.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah. No, thanks a lot, Prakhar, I think, for taking us through this and making us realize how a media mix, how the right media mix is important, and how to, execute that media mix onto a single platform to get the most out of it. I'd also like to add, I think, in the media mix, while a lot of it is YouTube, but display also forms a key part, because then you can, when you have YouTube and display and video formats running together, there is a lot of efficiency that you can gain when you go higher up the frequency. Right? So it is always a sweet spot between formats and between media wise, and I think Prakhar would sort of agree as well on that. Thank you, Prakhar, for those insights. I think it must have made a lot of things clear in the minds of users who still have questions on programmatic. We have Vikram on the call with us, who will talk about TV, connected TV, programmatic TV. What is all this? How does it all come together? But Vikram, just before that, we have another poll question. We'll just take this poll and then we can move to your slides. I think we have the results. It's oscillating between 40% as yes and no, 60%. But I think the no was also coming with a caveat where people are considering investing on CDV and not just a blanket no. Over to you, Vikram. I think we'd love to hear insights.
Thank you, Prakhar, for that insightful thing. I went back to my old days as a programmatic campaign manager when I used to do frequency optimization for brands. I remember my first brand, we worked together on DV360 called Funds India. That was a performance campaign. It was a nostalgia, actually. Connected TV as an ecosystem today, we are looking at this from a very bigger picture. So if you look at somebody like a Samsung, before we move on to the slides, we are today like a full stack OEM looking at the combination of hardware, software, and advertising together. I think CTV as a play is going to mature over the years, and I think definitely a lot of dimensions are going to come to the fore from all stakeholders who are content owners, who are advertisers, the linear cable, the TV publishers and the channels currently who are there. They would also look at certain sort of diversification of viewership. I think CTV is going to play a very holistic role in the advertising ecosystem. I'll just walk you through what we are currently doing and how programmatic is changing the entire landscape, how TV and programmatic are playing like a tango, and possibly open to taking questions. But if you can move to the next slide, please. So just to give you a small gist of it, what is CTV? CTV is nothing but a plain simple definition of any TV today that is connected to the internet, any smart TV. This is a smart TV which has a Wi-Fi capability inbuilt, can connect to the internet straight out of the box, or any traditional TV that can connect to the internet using a box or a dongle or a stick, and streaming content is a CTV. So very plain simple definition, and any software, any service that runs on top of it, on top of the hardware and the OS, is called a OTT. So today, if you look at the multiple OTTs that are currently running as a streaming service on a lot of these OEM platforms, the likes of YouTube, the likes of Hotstar, Netflix, Prime, TV Plus, so on and so forth. This gives you a holistic understanding of what connected TV today is. Programmatic TV, as a very plain, simple definition, is an automated way to buy, basically buy and sell ads on TV. The methodology is called programmatic because we use the demand side platforms and the supply side platforms to connect demand and supply together. And holistically, this concept is known as programmatic TV. So a very clear definition of what is CTV today and what is programmatic TV. So programmatic TV is today expanding at a very rapid pace. And we are today, possibly TV was the most tech-starved media available in the market. And now TV is the last one to enter the foray where bulk of the advertisers today spend money. And with TV going the tech way, it opens up a lot of different dimensions, which I'll take you through in the next slide as well. Bharat, if you can move ahead, please. Before we move ahead, just to give you a small gist of it, while the slide comes up, CTV is today going to be a very key to programmatic video growth, because if you look at TV is largely a video advertising medium. Just to give you an insight, 47% of the TV spends today are done by the CPG players, including the likes of Unilever. And if you look at the second spending sector on TV today is e-commerce. Together put, both these sectors spend more than 30,000 crores on their traditional TVs buying overall as a play. TV advertising ecosystem today, if you look at from a maturity perspective, with video growing at a phenomenal pace, and if today connected TV becomes programmatic, you are today expecting that additional fuel to the fire, where programmatic video holistically is going to grow at a much more rapid pace. So CTV is going to be the biggest contributor. There was a survey done by one of the biggest market researchers, EY, in 2023. 28% of the advertisers today are looking at allocating their budgets onto CTV, their programmatic budgets, and these are very big numbers, because if you look at such a big consolidation when it happens from a linear TV to a smart TV advertising, this is holistically opening up a complete new dimension, how brands and advertisers today can leverage the intelligence that TV advertising brings back. because with a linear TV, there were limited signals of advertising coming, signals coming back. But with today, with TV going connected, you have a lot more signals to work upon, which help you do a complete set of optimization and can open up a new dimension of advertising. Next slide, Bharat. Just to give you a very differentiated view of why CTV over a linear TV. First and foremost is, if you are looking at a CTV, you are basically looking at your advertising is very audience driven, and you are focusing on viewership. If you are looking at purely from a targeting perspective, CTV brings a lot more precision when it comes to targeting. The second is, you have a lot of insights from the TV coming itself, which gives you and helps you to build custom targeting as well. And last but not the least, you are able to measure it deterministically. So if you are looking at from why CTV advertising over linear TV advertising, it is making your advertising much more addressable, sharper targeted, and you are getting measurement. And on top of it, when you are looking at bringing efficiencies to your media buying, it saves you a lot of cost. Plus, last but not the least, what Prakhar spoke about, that you are able to optimize your optimum reach to an audience in a 2+, 3+, 5+, or 7+ environment. You are able to find your best fit because those experimentations happen real time. Tech gives you feedback and insights real time, and that can help you optimize your spends and help you limit your media wastage. So if you look at with your traditional TV advertising, you're not able to do it in a very seamless way. But with CTV and programmatic giving you all these insights real time, this gives you a complete holistic advantage of how TV advertising is going to transform with the help of ad tech. Next slide, Bharat. So just as I told you, smart TV, the TV advertising gets much more smarter. You have a lot of device level data, courtesy the OEMs like Samsung, who bring in the insights of what TV hardware today is. The second is your brand safety and premium, because all the content that currently is being played on the TV is all vetted by Ministry of Information and Broadcasting. So it gives you a very brand safe content to advertise on. And last but not the least, with the help of programmatic and ad tech, you are able to optimize your media on full funnel measurement. So a sharper targeting, a brand safe environment, and a full funnel measurement. So TV is set up as a right recipe. When you're looking at from a programmatic lens, you can do everything together and make sure your TV advertising today has a media effectiveness that you are expecting from, which was not earlier the case. Next. Some of the advantages what connected TV and programmatic bring together. First of all, you are able to do a lot of buying automated, because today, if you look at the TV supply chain, you're basically moving across from a lot of tables to tables, going across and putting across ROs, making plans, calculating them. But if you look at what programmatic brings to the table and what programmatic did to digital overall, it's going to basically bring all those efficiencies and advantages in making your TV buys automate. Second, you will get a lot of transparency in the entire TV buying ecosystem, where you know what you're buying from, where you're buying from, and whom you're buying from. Last, and the most important part is that TV advertising is completely cookieless. It is not driven by any sort of a cookie-based narrative. It's completely device ID based. So you're no longer worried about whether your cookies are getting deprecated. Nothing sort of a worry about it. It's real-time optimizing of TV, because you're buying live ads and you're optimizing live TV. You also can measure your proven effectiveness by making sure that you can run your BLSs, you can do all your insightful studies and make sure whatever is media, whatever is effective, you buy that media. And last but not the least, this is completely data-driven targeting. So you know exactly what you're buying, from whom you're buying, and you can basically make sure that your entire TV buying across the hardware, software, and various attributes are in sync with your media strategy. So with programmatic and CTV, this is completely a rich media buying experience that is coming to the fore. And I think TV today was left over, but no longer. All these advantages that programmatic and connected TV bring together, it's going to change the landscape of how TV advertising was a decade ago and what TV advertising is going to be a decade from now. But next slide. Just to give you certain industry numbers, as of now, if you look at the India market, currently stands at 35 million active smart TVs. And when we quote these numbers are excluding any device dongles and set-top boxes. These are pure TV screens, which are 32 inches and above in the household. We are expecting this. One of the very interesting insights is that 80% of the connected TVs in India connect to the internet daily. because once you bring the smart TV to the home and you connect it to the internet, as soon as you turn on and turn off daily, and if you have a native Wi-Fi, your TV is going to be connected every time. So this gives you a very rich insights of what addressable households that you're targeting across. And it's a very active, and you are working with more active devices and not with switched off devices, because TVs, once switched off, you cannot serve any ads. But with active TVs and the number being so high, India today is connecting, these number of connected TVs are connecting to the internet daily. So by end of 2026, but if you can move a few slides, by end of 2026, we are expecting this number to grow to 70 million. And by end of 2030, connected TV devices in India are supposed to reach to 100 million. So if you are looking at a transformational journey, connected TV is going to grow at a CAGR of more than 30% year on year. And this is going to phenomenally change the landscape of how TV advertising is. And just imagine, we are now also slowly taking up the 5G ecosystem. So with a rich experience on TV and with a very high data consumption source that you have available, TV advertising is going to fundamentally change. The TV viewing experience overall is going to fundamentally change. So as advertisers and marketeers, we also need to upgrade our media strategies and look at TV as a holistic device. How we can buy various medias which are addressable on TV holistically from a demand source like DV360, and that can help us minimize our media wastage and optimize our budgets. And that's how CTV and programmatic together can play the tango. I think that's it from my side. One of the final but interesting concepts is coming to the fore is the entire concept of called FAST. So today, if you buy any smart TV, you are today able to consume streaming content out of the box through any FAST service. FAST is nothing but a service provided by OEMs, which is called as free ad-supported streaming television. This is basically a mirror effect of you don't pay for the content, but you are okay to watch certain ads for the content that is served to you for free. So FAST is nothing but exactly a TV-like viewing experience. You can consume live TV channels out of the box as soon as you connect to the internet. The journey is pretty simple because you don't need any registration. You just need to put your email ID while you are registering the TV, and you can consume the same channels that you are consuming on the internet. So just to take an example, an OEM like Samsung today runs more than 110 FAST channels out of the box. So any Samsung household which is currently buying a TV or already has a Samsung TV, you need to find this service called Samsung TV Plus, where there are 110 channels available out of the box, which you can today consume without paying a single rupee of subscription. And this is today a phenomenon that is growing on the back of what OEMs are doing in the CTV space. With TVs going smart, the content consumption, the distribution, and the viewership habits are also changing. So if you look at the holistic TV viewing experience, FAST is going to be one of the biggest phenomenons going forward. No longer you will, with a smart TV, the content consumption will become delivery agnostic, because you will no longer be able to differentiate whether you are consuming a streaming content or a cable content, because once you plug in your TV to the internet, your medium of delivery is agnostic. So definitely from a TV consumption also, FAST is going to definitely impact how viewership is changing today. So this is basically what FAST is. Happy to take any questions. I think that's it from my side on connected TV. Over to you, Bharat.
Thank you so much, Vikram. I think it makes a lot of things more clearer around what CTV is, what are the offerings, what are the advantages of programmatic TV, and the new kid on the block, as you said, right? FAST TV.
Yeah, FAST TV.
Yeah. So I have a follow-up, Vikram, and I will then open it to Ruby and Prakhar. If they have any questions, then we can open it to the floor as well. So sports forms a very big part of TV viewing in India, at least.
Yeah.
And cricket is the biggest sort of sport in India, right? So is there a way or a better way to leverage CTV for sporting events? Like I think IPL is on, World Cup is going to be around the corner, right? And there'll be other sporting events. And I mean, India is a land of sporting events. It keeps happening.
Yeah.
So any views on how do we leverage, or how does the marketer leverage sporting events on CTV?
So if you look at Bharat, with live events, CTV today, if you look at Jio has been a phenomenon where people are today watching IPL on streaming environment because they just turned the model upside down. And today, if you look at their CTV advertising experience, they have made a lot of progress when it comes to how live TV ads are today being ingested on a streaming environment. How two environments are today completely different. While some viewers are watching on the same feed, the same match on streaming, and some are consuming it through a linear TV, but both are today watching different ads. So this is how today's sports is on live TVs today. Live advertising is also changing. And if you look at in the future, you will also have a lot of these customized content available on fast channels. So if you look at something like a Samsung today, we have a global FIFA channel where you can consume all your sports content, which is basically not live content, but just a very recent concluded sport content in your house out of the box without paying a single rupee of subscription. And just by not having paid to watch anything on subscription, but courtesy if you have an official FIFA channel available on a smart TV, you can consume that content. So if you look at the Geo experience and now you look at the official, so we are also now talking to a lot of these global federations who are today running football, golf, Formula One. They are now coming up with their own channels and experiences on cable, on smart TVs, so that they can engage with these types of audiences who have moved away from linear, but are okay to consume live TV or a near live TV experience on smart TV. So sports definitely is one of the biggest. Also to give you insights, news also today is one of the biggest consumption content on fast platforms. So sports, news and entertainment are going to form the three pillars. Samsung is today working globally to bring a lot of these IPs directly onto smart TV. So you no longer have to be dependent on any particular broadcaster. I think the scope is today very big. The journey is started in India with Jio taking the lead. We also have taken a lead globally. There has been an announcement as just 1 hour ago from Samsung globally, where we are now going big time on sports. So yeah, definitely sports is going to be one of the biggest drivers for both live as well as the repeat viewership.
Very interesting. Very interesting. Thank you, Vikram. I think, yeah, sports is one, news, as you said, is the other. With elections around the corner, I think news viewership is skyrocketing already.
We are sold out.
Yeah, I'm sure. All right. Rubir and Prakhar, if you have any follow-up questions, happy to take that, or we could open the floor to our participants for questions as well.
Yeah, thank you. And I do see 5-6 questions are already there in the Q&A section. But before we go there, Vikram, 35 million is the current number of total CTV universe. How much that is Samsung ads, and what's the growth for Samsung's ads number out of the overall CTV universe growth?
So 35 million is the current estimated as per ENY by end of 20. Samsung today stands at 10.1 million smart TVs in India. So we have of 35. So if we are looking at basically a growth rate, so we anyway sell 150,000 to 200,000 TVs a month. So that's our run rate. By end of 2024, we are expecting to exit by 11 million smart TVs. So we started this journey from 3.6 million in 2021. So all these TVs which are enabled for advertising are from our cutoff date of 2016 and onwards. We do not consider TVs that have been sold prior to 2016, and our journey has been pretty phenomenal. So if you look at from 2021, which was 3.6, we are today 10.1. By end of 2027, we are expecting our number to be anywhere in the range of 15 to 18 million.
So right now, 30% of the overall universe is with Samsung, and then eventually it becomes 50 to 60 million. Then you're expecting around 20, 30, around 25% to be the. Yeah, that's a good number.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Wow, that's very good. Yep. I'm open to take the questions, and even Prakhar, if you had any thoughts.
I think
the follow-up question, where do you see this growth, coming from? Is it like tier 1, tier 2, tier 3? Like, if you have any insights on that.
So just to give you a very, just me asking a question to the audience, just guess which is our number one city where maximum number of Samsung smart TVs are active. Just guess, wild guess.
Bangalore?
Seems like a trick question.
Yeah, it's a trick question. Yeah.
Is it Jaipur? I don't know. I'm taking guesses.
Yeah, I'll just give you the answer of it. The number one city that is on our install list where our maximum active TVs are is Hyderabad. The average TV size is 50 inches and above. So with every city, we see a different type of device demographic, because as a OEM, we are able to tell you that which household has what type of a TV, what is the price of the TV, and what is the size of the TV. So within your advertising campaigns, you can target these attributes and customize. For example, in the case of housing, if you are looking at basically marketing a property which is in upwards of 4 CR and above, within tier 1 cities, we can exactly tailor make a campaign and give you those attributes where you can only go behind households who have an affluency, where they own a 4K TV or a 8K TV, or whether the MRP of TV is 1 lakh or 1 lakh, 1.5 lakh and above. So all these attributes. So if you look at purely from a spread, we are currently 70% tier 1 and 30% tier 2. But our tier 2 penetration is growing because affluency in tier 2 is growing at a much faster rate than tier 1. And averagely, the TV size that we used to sell, which was 32 and 43 a couple of years ago, now that median has moved to 50 inches. So people now prefer to buy a default TV which is 50 inches and above, which was a 43 earlier. So some of the cities are very, very surprising. So if you look at something like a Surat, something like a Lucknow, something like say a Bhubaneswar, these are all upcoming cities where maximum advertisers are today looking at reaching out, and we have a sizable base there.
Exactly. I mean, if we look at today's spread, it is, as you said, right? I mean, it is predominantly tier 1, but the growth rate in tier 2 is something that we are also very, very confident, and we are keeping an eye out, because for as I also presented, tier 2 is where we'll be also focusing a lot. Of course, one of the niches that you mentioned was essentially high ticket size, affluent users that we can reach to.
Yeah.
And CTV also, in a way, right? It is a good surrogate / proxy for SCCA audience, right? So therefore, it solves for that as well.
So just to give you another insight, all our TVs are NCCS A1, A2, and A3.
Of course. Yeah. CTV is a hands down very good surrogate for SCCA audience. Yeah, I completely agree.
Yeah.
Perfect.
I will move on to the questions from our participants. I think so. I can see 3 questions which are interrelated. And Prakhar, I think this is mostly for you. Is how do you choose what's the ideal frequency? I know you've answered this in a bit. And what does 3 plus actually mean? Is 3 plus 4, or is 3 plus 5, or what does 5 plus mean? Is it 6 or 7, or is it just 5? And how do you sort of one is how does a brand arrive at that number? And after you arrive at that number, what is how do you sort of reach that number?
Yeah. So firstly, I'll answer just a second. Yeah.
Yeah. Also, to add in, is the frequency for the full duration of the campaign? It is set at the weekly level, just the cycle of it.
Sure. I'll answer all 3. I think I've taken up one which was asked by Ruby, but I'll sort of try to answer it again. Right. So the first is when we say 3 plus, right? So this is not average frequency. This is number of people who have watched your ad at least 3 times, right? And therefore the name 3 plus, right? It could be 4, it could be 5, it could be 6, right? But what is that number at 3? So number of people who have watched your ad 3 times. So that is the definition, right? How essentially one arrives and how we arrived at. So I've answered that, how we've arrived at. But I think, see, for each and every value proposition, each and every type of communication, is it thematic? Is it tactical? The kind of proposition that you have, the kind of category that you are in, right? All of these factors also, sort of drive what is the optimal frequency requirement, right? So how essentially I personally, or, in my experience, for me is experimentation. There's no running away from that, right? We got to experiment at different points, be it 3+, be it 5+, be it 8+, right? And then you have to closely monitor your key metrics, right? Because at the end of the day, all the monies that are going in marketing, right, they have to drive a business outcome, right? And therefore, if that chronology, that process is streamlined at a brand's level, right, the answer would be there in close to 4 to 6 months, right? At least a 70 to 80% confidence level answer, and it has to be data backed. So I think that's the way to go about it. In terms of the duration, right? The duration is for a month for us, right? And that is how essentially we track our campaigns, right? So it is a 30-day duration. So when we say 3+ is, let's say, X percentage reach, that is for a month.
Got it. Got it. I think that makes it pretty clear. I think what I'd like to also repeat is that when we are saying 3+ and 5+, it is one user at least seeing the ad 3 times, right? And then you track what is the percentage of users who've seen your ad at least 3 times. And this is a bit different from the average we could see that is usually tracked for campaigns. Thank you, Prakhar. Another question that I see, and Vikram, this one's for you. This is from Sirajuddin Nellur. He asks, what is the user content consumption pattern on CTV? And like, what are the users actually watching? Are they watching more OTT, or are they streaming TV, or are they watching a lot of YouTube? Right. So
just to give you a small gist, 80% of the Samsung users, so out of the overall Samsung households that we have, 80% of the users are first time streamers first, or are basically watching streaming plus linear. So most of them have moved to streaming. So 80% of those time of 100-hour watch on Samsung TV, 80% of that is being spent on streaming, and only 20 hours is being spent on linear. So if you look at from that perspective, we have a lot of the households who are completely have gone to streaming. So slowly and steadily within that, people are today consuming a lot of OTT content. So if you look at, we have apps like YouTube, Amazon, as well as Netflix and APV on a high usage trajectory. And outside these, people are also today watching fast channels in which news is the biggest consumption. So a lot of people today are consuming equally both OTT as well as other streaming services. Very engaging and very insightful.
Got it. There is another follow-up question. I think this one's again for Vikram. And it's a very interesting question, Vikram, because it talks about the premium subscriptions, and someone who's actually watching a ad-free ad version of an OTT, right? So the question is, people have taken a free subscription of Netflix, for example. How will they see the ads? Yeah. And if you want a CMO or a CXO level person, you want to reach out to those people. And if they have a premium version, you will not be able to reach out to them with that, right? So does it mean that it's actually a missed opportunity when someone who can afford a premium subscription is not actually seeing your ads, but that's where you want to be?
Nice question.
So that's a very nice question. I have an answer. See, this is where the difference is. So an OEM today can serve ad as soon as the TV is switched on, even before he logs into Netflix. But an OTT or any other streaming service can't engage a user in the ad till the time the user logs in. So with something like a Samsung, as soon as somebody switches on, we have a bang on top masthead on top of the TV, which will help you serve ad, whether he's a CMO who has bought a subscription or not bought. But we can serve an ad in a format which is native in the TV, whether once he sees the ad, and then he can continue his journey. So you are engaging the user right from the start of the TV, because today the TV has that leverage and a space to serve an ad, because today TV is run by an operating system. So then he can continue to the journey. So effectively, you can basically catch the attention of the user as soon as the TV is turned on with an ad format. And these are available across all OEMs. And then once he is within the app, the journey continues. So this is how I can engage anybody who has a paid subscription, but still I can serve him an ad outside of that app.
No, great answer actually. And because it's digital, you can also do audience targeting, right? And you can reach out to
Absolutely.
high net worth individuals and
Yeah. I can reach out to users only who are still who have the app but are still not subscribers.
Got it.
That's a nice use case.
Also, if I can just add quickly on that, right? Again, this is an assumption that the CMO is subscribing or buying a certain subscription, right? That is an assumption that we all have, right? So there's an interesting survey that we did, right? Again, it's not validated by a third party or something like that, right? But we did a small survey on our user base, right? And the interesting insight was that it was the younger population, right, who is paying more for, let's say, going ad free on YouTube, right? Now, that is so the earlier assumption was exactly this, right? So someone who is HNI, someone who is let's say a CXO or a successful entrepreneur, CEO, etc., right? Probably these guys are paying for the subscription. Of course, everyone in each and every cohort is doing that, but the majority is actually in the age group of 18 to 25 is what our service is, a small dipstick of sorts that we've done internally. So it's basically the younger generation who has who doesn't mind. So for example, on YouTube, doesn't mind paying $150 or $130, right, a month just to go ads free.
Sure, I think that's a great insight. We're also seeing that pattern, I think, on audio platforms like Spotify, right? A lot of young population is subscribing, and maybe the millennials are sort of still lacking in doing ads before the favorite song streams. I think we're out of time. We are already at 4:01. We can wrap this up, and I want to thank firstly our attendees without whom I think this would have not been possible, and also our guests Prakhar, Rubir, and Vikram. Thank you so much, guys, for taking your time. This was
Thank you for
really,
having us. Thank you for having us.
yeah, valuable for the users as well. We'll reach out to the attendees, I think, as a follow-up on email, and if there are any questions unanswered, we will sort of try and answer them on email itself. Yeah, I think thank you so much.
Thank you.
See you all in episode 2.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Bye-bye.